Question 1. When evaluating an applicant's performance on the Allegheny College entrance exam, which approach best balances the college's commitment to diversity with the need to assess academic preparedness for admission? Option A. Automatically rejecting any applicant whose Allegheny College entrance exam score falls below a predetermined minimum, regardless of other application components. Option B. Solely relying on the applicant's score on the Allegheny College entrance exam as the primary determinant of their academic preparedness. Option C. Conducting a holistic review of the applicant's entire application, including their entrance exam score, academic record, essays, and extracurricular activities, to gauge their overall potential for success at Allegheny College. Option D. Adjusting the applicant's Allegheny College entrance exam score based on their socioeconomic background to compensate for perceived disadvantages. The correct answer is C. Conducting a holistic review of the applicant's entire application, including their entrance exam score, academic record, essays, and extracurricular activities, to gauge their overall potential for success at Allegheny College. Explanation: this scenario presents a professional challenge because the admissions committee must balance the college's stated commitment to diversity with the need to maintain academic rigor and ensure that all admitted students are prepared for the college-level curriculum. The Allegheny College entrance exam, as a component of the admissions process, is designed to assess a student's readiness. The challenge lies in interpreting the impact of a student's background and potential challenges on their performance on this standardized assessment, without resorting to discriminatory practices or undermining the validity of the exam itself. Careful judgment is required to ensure fairness and equity while upholding the academic standards of Allegheny College. The correct approach involves a holistic review that considers the student's overall application, including their academic record, extracurricular activities, essays, and letters of recommendation, in conjunction with their performance on the Allegheny College entrance exam. This approach recognizes that standardized test scores are just one piece of the puzzle, and that students' background, experiences, and potential can significantly influence their performance. Regulatory and ethical guidelines for college admissions, particularly those emphasizing fairness and non-discrimination, support this comprehensive evaluation. The goal is to identify students who demonstrate the potential to succeed at Allegheny College, taking into account a wide range of factors. An incorrect approach would be to solely focus on the Allegheny College entrance exam score as the definitive measure of a student's potential, ignoring other aspects of their application. This fails to acknowledge that external factors can impact test performance and may lead to the exclusion of otherwise qualified and promising candidates. Ethically, this approach is problematic as it may disproportionately disadvantage students from less privileged backgrounds who may not have had access to the same test preparation resources. Another incorrect approach would be to arbitrarily adjust the entrance exam scores based on demographic factors without a clear, consistent, and justifiable methodology. This could be perceived as preferential treatment or reverse discrimination, violating principles of equal opportunity and potentially contravening admissions policies that emphasize merit and preparedness. Such adjustments, if not grounded in a robust and transparent framework, can undermine the integrity of the admissions process and lead to legal challenges. A further incorrect approach would be to dismiss a student's application outright if their entrance exam score falls below a certain threshold, without considering the context of their application. This rigid adherence to a single metric ignores the possibility that a student might possess exceptional qualities or overcome significant challenges that are not fully captured by a standardized test. It fails to embrace the spirit of holistic review and can lead to the rejection of students who could thrive at Allegheny College. A professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a commitment to a transparent and equitable admissions policy. Admissions committees should be trained to conduct holistic reviews, understanding the nuances of standardized testing and the importance of contextualizing individual scores within a broader applicant profile. They should also be aware of and adhere to all relevant federal and state regulations regarding admissions, ensuring that decisions are based on merit, potential, and a commitment to fostering a diverse and academically strong student body. The focus should always be on identifying students who will contribute positively to the Allegheny College community and succeed in its academic environment. Question 2. The evaluation methodology shows that the Allegheny College Admissions Committee is considering several potential changes to its application review process. Which of the following approaches to assessing the impact of these proposed changes would best align with professional standards and ethical considerations in higher education admissions? Option A. An assessment that prioritizes perceived institutional prestige and selectivity above all other factors. Option B. A comprehensive impact assessment that analyzes potential effects on applicant diversity, academic preparedness, operational efficiency, and alignment with the college's mission. Option C. An assessment based on informal discussions with current faculty and anecdotal feedback from recent alumni. Option D. An assessment focused primarily on how the changes might increase the college's yield rate of admitted students. The correct answer is B. A comprehensive impact assessment that analyzes potential effects on applicant diversity, academic preparedness, operational efficiency, and alignment with the college's mission. Explanation. The evaluation methodology shows a need to assess the impact of proposed changes to the Allegheny College admissions process. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires balancing the college's mission and values with the practical implications of admissions decisions, ensuring fairness, and adhering to any relevant educational accreditation standards or legal frameworks governing higher education admissions in the United States. Careful judgment is required to anticipate unintended consequences and to ensure that the proposed changes do not inadvertently create barriers for certain applicant groups or compromise the academic integrity of the incoming class. The correct approach involves a comprehensive impact assessment that considers multiple facets of the admissions process. This includes evaluating how changes might affect the diversity of the applicant pool and enrolled class, the academic preparedness of admitted students, the operational efficiency of the admissions office, and the overall student experience. This approach aligns with best practices in higher education administration, which emphasize data-driven decision-making, ethical considerations in admissions, and a commitment to equitable access. Regulatory frameworks in the U.S., such as those related to non-discrimination and equal opportunity, implicitly support such a thorough assessment to ensure that admissions policies are fair and do not lead to disparate impacts on protected groups. Furthermore, accreditation bodies often expect institutions to demonstrate a thoughtful and systematic approach to program and policy development, which includes impact assessment, an approach that focuses solely on increasing the yield rate without considering the broader implications is professionally unacceptable. This narrow focus risks overlooking potential negative impacts on diversity or academic quality, which could lead to ethical breaches and potential violations of non-discrimination principles. Similarly, an approach that prioritizes perceived prestige over accessibility might inadvertently exclude qualified students from diverse socioeconomic or educational backgrounds, contravening principles of equitable access, and potentially running afoul of federal guidelines on affirmative action and equal opportunity in education. An approach that relies on anecdotal evidence rather than systematic data collection fails to meet professional standards for evidence-based decision-making and could lead to biased or ineffective policy changes. Professionals should employ a decision-making framework that begins with clearly defining the objectives of any proposed change. This should be followed by identifying potential stakeholders and their interests. A robust impact assessment should then be conducted, utilizing both quantitative and qualitative data to evaluate the potential effects across various dimensions: academic, diversity, operational, financial, ethical. Finally, decisions should be made based on the comprehensive findings of the assessment, with a clear rationale that can be articulated and defended, ensuring alignment with the institution's mission and relevant regulations. Question 3. Analysis of the most appropriate method for preparing students for the Allegheny College entrance exam, considering the ethical implications of academic integrity and fairness in the admissions process. Option A. Offering targeted tutoring sessions that focus on developing foundational knowledge and general test-taking strategies relevant to the exam's subject areas. Option B. Sharing specific insights into the types of questions that will appear on the exam and offering hints on how to approach them. Option C. Providing students with access to a comprehensive library of past exam papers and detailed answer keys for all sections. Option D. Facilitating group study sessions where instructors subtly guide students towards correct answers during mock exam simulations. Correct answer is C. Providing students with access to a comprehensive library of past exam papers and detailed answer keys for all sections. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent conflict between a student's desire for academic success and the ethical imperative to uphold academic integrity. The pressure to perform well on entrance exams can lead to students seeking unfair advantages. Careful judgment is required to ensure that any support provided is ethical and compliant with Allegheny College's entrance exam regulations. The correct approach involves providing comprehensive and unbiased academic preparation that focuses on developing the student's understanding of the subject matter and test-taking strategies, without offering any direct assistance or insights into the specific exam content or question. This aligns with the ethical principles of fairness and academic honesty, and implicitly with any regulations governing fair admissions processes, which would prohibit any form of cheating or undue advantage. The goal is to equip the student with the skills and knowledge to succeed on their own merit. An incorrect approach that involves providing students with past exam questions or specific content that is likely to appear on the exam is ethically unacceptable and likely violates the spirit, if not the letter, of any university entrance exam regulations. This constitutes providing an unfair advantage and undermines the integrity of the admissions process. It is a form of academic dishonesty that compromises the validity of the assessment. Another incorrect approach, such as offering to help the student by subtly guiding them towards specific answers during a practice session that mimics the exam format, is also ethically problematic. While not as overt as providing past questions, this still constitutes undue influence and misrepresents the student's true abilities. It violates the principle of authentic assessment and can lead to admitting students who are not adequately prepared, potentially impacting their success at Allegheny College. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a clear understanding of the institution's academic integrity policies and ethical guidelines. Professionals should prioritize transparency and fairness, focusing on legitimate methods of preparation. When in doubt, seeking clarification from the admissions office or relevant academic integrity bodies is crucial. The ultimate aim is to support student development in an ethical and responsible manner that upholds the value of the educational institution. Question 4. The audit findings indicate potential inconsistencies in the processing of applicant materials for the upcoming academic year. To address these findings, the audit team has requested access to a sample of applicant files. Considering the sensitive nature of personal and academic information contained within these files, what is the most appropriate course of action to facilitate the audit while upholding privacy and institutional integrity? Option A. Inform the audit team that no applicant files can be shared due to privacy concerns, and offer only a high-level overview of processing procedures. Option B. Provide the audit team with full, unredacted access to a representative sample of applicant files to ensure they have all necessary context. Option C. Conduct a comprehensive impact assessment to identify the minimum necessary data for the audit, anonymize or aggregate where possible, and provide only that information under strict confidentiality protocols. Option D. Share anonymized demographic data of applicants, but withhold any information that could be linked to individual applications. Correct answer is C. Conduct a comprehensive impact assessment to identify the minimum necessary data for the audit, anonymize or aggregate where possible, and provide only that information under strict confidentiality protocols. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires an individual to balance the immediate need for information with the ethical and regulatory obligations to protect sensitive data. The Allegheny College entrance exam context implies a need for adherence to educational institution policies and potentially broader data privacy regulations relevant to student admissions. The core of the challenge lies in determining the appropriate level of detail to disclose during an audit while safeguarding the privacy of applicants and the integrity of the admissions process. The correct approach involves a thorough impact assessment that prioritizes data minimization and anonymization. This means identifying the specific information required for the audit, evaluating the potential risks associated with its disclosure, and implementing measures to mitigate those risks. This approach aligns with principles of data protection and responsible information handling, ensuring that only necessary data is shared in a format that protects individual privacy. Regulatory frameworks governing educational institutions often mandate such careful consideration of data privacy. An incorrect approach would be to provide raw, unredacted applicant data without a clear understanding of its necessity for the audit. This fails to adequately assess the impact of disclosure and risks violating privacy rights and institutional policies. Another incorrect approach is to refuse to provide any information, which could hinder a legitimate audit process and potentially violate compliance requirements. Finally, providing only superficial summaries without sufficient detail to allow for a meaningful audit also represents a failure, as it obstructs the audit's purpose. Professionals should employ a decision-making framework that begins with understanding the audit's objectives. This is followed by identifying the specific data points requested and assessing their sensitivity. Next, explore methods for anonymizing or aggregating data to meet audit requirements with minimal privacy risk. If direct disclosure is unavoidable, ensure it is done under strict confidentiality agreements and only after obtaining necessary approvals. Documenting the entire process, including the rationale for data selection and protective measures, is crucial for accountability. Question 5. Process analysis reveals that a significant number of prospective students are inquiring about the status of their applications due to an unforeseen delay in the review process. The admissions committee is still finalizing its decisions, and a definitive timeline for release is not yet established. Which approach best balances the need for transparency with the ethical imperative to provide accurate information? Option A. Issue a statement confirming the delay and assuring applicants that decisions will be released as soon as they are finalized, emphasizing that the college is committed to a thorough and fair review process. Option B. Provide a general acknowledgement of the inquiries on the college website without specifying the cause or expected resolution of the delay. Option C. Focus on communicating the internal challenges causing the delay to the admissions team and defer any external communication until all decisions are made. Option D. Release preliminary acceptance and rejection notifications to a portion of the applicant pool to alleviate immediate pressure, with a promise of further updates for the remaining applicants. The correct answer is A. Issue a statement confirming the delay and assuring applicants that decisions will be released as soon as they are finalized, emphasizing that the college is committed to a thorough and fair review process. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a challenge in balancing the need for timely information dissemination with the ethical obligation to ensure accuracy and prevent misinterpretation, especially in the context of a competitive admissions process. The pressure to appear proactive and responsive can lead to premature or incomplete statements, which could unfairly disadvantage applicants or misrepresent the college's position. Careful judgment is required to determine the appropriate level of detail and the timing of any communication. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a thorough internal review and confirmation of all relevant details before any public statement is made. This aligns with the ethical principles of honesty, integrity, and fairness expected in educational institutions. Specifically, it upholds the principle of providing accurate information to stakeholders, including prospective students and their families, thereby preventing potential confusion or distress. This methodical approach ensures that any communication is well-informed and reflects the college's official stance, minimizing the risk of misrepresentation. Incorrect approaches analysis. Releasing preliminary information without full verification risks disseminating inaccuracies. This violates the ethical duty to provide truthful information and could lead to applicants making decisions based on flawed data, creating an unfair competitive environment. Issuing a vague statement that acknowledges the situation but offers no concrete details fails to address the underlying concern and may be perceived as evasive. While not directly providing false information, it can erode trust and create an atmosphere of uncertainty, which is detrimental to the college's reputation and the applicant experience. Focusing solely on the college's internal processes without acknowledging the external impact on applicants overlooks the ethical responsibility to consider the welfare of those affected by the admissions timeline. This approach prioritizes institutional convenience over the needs and expectations of prospective students. Professional reasoning. Professionals in higher education admissions should adopt a decision-making framework that prioritizes accuracy, fairness, and transparency. This involves establishing clear internal communication protocols for verifying information before public release, considering the potential impact of any communication on all stakeholders, and adhering to established ethical guidelines for admissions practices. When faced with uncertainty or delays, the default should be to confirm facts internally and communicate transparently about the process, rather than to speculate or release unverified information. Question 6. Research into the potential introduction of a new interdisciplinary program at Allegheny College has raised questions about its feasibility. Which of the following approaches best demonstrates a responsible and strategic evaluation of this proposal? Option A. Conducting a comprehensive impact assessment that considers the program's alignment with the college's strategic plan, its effect on faculty and student support resources, and its potential contribution to academic reputation. Option B. Prioritizing the potential for increased student enrollment and tuition revenue as the primary metric for evaluating the program's viability. Option C. Focusing solely on the immediate financial benefits and cost savings associated with implementing the new program. Option D. Relying on informal discussions with a few faculty members and anecdotal evidence to gauge the program's potential success. The correct answer is A. Conducting a comprehensive impact assessment that considers the program's alignment with the college's strategic plan, its effect on faculty and student support resources, and its potential contribution to academic reputation. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires an applicant to critically evaluate the potential consequences of a proposed academic program on the college's existing resources and reputation, without resorting to purely quantitative measures. The difficulty lies in synthesizing qualitative factors and anticipating future impacts, demanding a nuanced understanding of institutional strategy and external perception. Careful judgment is required to balance innovation with sustainability, and to ensure that any new initiative aligns with Allegheny College's core mission and values. The correct approach involves a comprehensive impact assessment that considers both the immediate and long-term implications of the proposed program. This includes evaluating its alignment with the college's strategic goals, its potential effect on faculty workload and student support services, and its contribution to the college's academic standing and marketability. This approach is professionally sound because it adheres to principles of responsible institutional development, emphasizing foresight and due diligence. It reflects an ethical obligation to ensure that new ventures are sustainable and beneficial, not detrimental, to the institution and its stakeholders. Such an assessment is implicitly guided by the overarching principles of good governance and academic stewardship expected of any educational institution, ensuring that decisions are informed and strategically aligned. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on the potential for increased enrollment without considering the strain on existing resources is professionally unacceptable. This failure neglects the critical aspect of operational capacity and student experience, potentially leading to a decline in the quality of education and a negative impact on the college's reputation. Ethically, it breaches the duty of care owed to current and future students and faculty. Another incorrect approach that prioritizes immediate financial gains without a thorough evaluation of academic fit or long-term viability is also professionally unsound. This narrow focus on short-term revenue can compromise the academic integrity and unique identity of the college, leading to unsustainable growth or a dilution of its educational mission. It demonstrates a lack of strategic thinking and a disregard for the holistic health of the institution. A third incorrect approach that relies on anecdotal evidence or the opinions of a small group without systematic data collection or analysis is professionally deficient. This method lacks rigor and objectivity, making it prone to bias and misjudgment. It fails to provide a reliable basis for decision-making, potentially leading to poorly conceived initiatives with unintended negative consequences. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a structured framework that begins with clearly defining the objectives of the proposed initiative. This should be followed by a thorough analysis of potential impacts across various dimensions: academic, financial, operational, and reputational. Stakeholder consultation, where appropriate, can provide valuable insights. Finally, decisions should be based on a balanced consideration of all assessed factors, prioritizing the long-term health and mission alignment of the institution. Question 7. The performance metrics show a significant increase in the number of applicants who do not meet the current minimum score threshold for the Allegheny College entrance exam, leading to a higher rejection rate. A proposal has been put forth to lower this threshold to increase the number of admitted students. Which approach best assesses the potential impact of this proposed change? Option A. Prioritize increasing the enrollment numbers by lowering the threshold, assuming that a larger student body will automatically lead to greater institutional success. Option B. Solicit immediate feedback from a select group of department chairs to gauge their immediate reaction to the proposal. Option C. Focus primarily on the potential cost savings associated with processing fewer applications and managing a smaller pool of rejected candidates. Option D. Conduct a comprehensive impact assessment that evaluates the potential effects on academic rigor, the quality of the admitted student body, the fairness of the admissions process, and the college's overall academic reputation. The correct answer is D. Conduct a comprehensive impact assessment that evaluates the potential effects on academic rigor, the quality of the admitted student body, the fairness of the admissions process, and the college's overall academic reputation. Explanation. This scenario presents a challenge because it requires an assessment of the impact of a proposed change on the college's core mission and operational integrity, rather than a purely financial or logistical one. The Allegheny College entrance exam, as a university entrance exam, is fundamentally concerned with ensuring that admitted students are academically prepared and align with the college's educational philosophy. Therefore, any proposed changes must be evaluated through the lens of their potential impact on the quality of the student body and the effectiveness of the admissions process. The correct approach involves a comprehensive impact assessment that considers multiple facets of the college's operations and mission. This includes evaluating how the proposed change might affect academic standards, the diversity of the applicant pool, the fairness and equity of the admissions process, and the college's reputation. Such an assessment aligns with the ethical responsibilities of an educational institution to maintain high standards and provide a fair opportunity for all qualified applicants. It also reflects a commitment to responsible governance and strategic planning, ensuring that decisions are data-informed and aligned with the long-term goals of the college. An approach that focuses solely on cost reduction would be incorrect because it neglects the primary purpose of an entrance exam, which is to select qualified candidates. This narrow focus risks compromising academic rigor and the overall quality of the student body, potentially leading to negative long-term consequences for the college's academic standing and reputation. An approach that prioritizes increasing the number of admitted students without considering the impact on academic preparedness would also be incorrect. This could lead to a dilution of academic standards and a failure to uphold the college's mission of providing a rigorous education. It would also be ethically questionable, as it prioritizes quantity over quality and potentially admits students who are not adequately prepared for the academic challenges at Allegheny College. An approach that relies solely on anecdotal feedback from a small group of faculty members would be insufficient and potentially biased. While faculty input is valuable, it does not constitute a comprehensive impact assessment. Such an approach risks overlooking broader implications for the admissions process, the applicant pool, and the college's strategic objectives. It fails to provide a systematic and objective evaluation of the proposed change. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a structured approach to impact assessment. This typically begins with clearly defining the proposed change and its objectives. Next, identify all relevant stakeholders and potential areas of impact: academic, financial, operational, ethical, reputational. Then, gather data and evidence from various sources, including quantitative metrics and qualitative feedback. Analyze the potential positive and negative consequences of the change, considering both short-term and long-term effects. Finally, develop recommendations based on the assessment, prioritizing decisions that align with the institution's mission, values, and strategic goals, while also adhering to ethical principles and regulatory guidelines. Question 8. Comparative studies suggest that when evaluating applicants for university entrance, the impact assessment of various admissions tools can be approached in several ways. Considering the goal of identifying candidates who will not only succeed academically, but also contribute meaningfully to the college community at Allegheny College, which approach to impact assessment is most professionally sound and ethically defensible? Option A. Relying primarily on the predictive validity of standardized test scores as these are widely recognized benchmarks for academic aptitude. Option B, emphasizing assessment tools that are least resource-intensive to administer and score, ensuring a streamlined admissions process. Option C, focusing on a multifaceted impact assessment that integrates qualitative and quantitative data from diverse sources, including academic records, extracurricular involvement, personal essays, and recommendations, to build a holistic profile of each applicant's potential and fit. Option D, prioritizing assessment methods that offer the most quantifiable and easily comparable data points, allowing for efficient ranking and selection. The correct answer is D, prioritizing assessment methods that offer the most quantifiable and easily comparable data points, allowing for efficient ranking and selection. Explanation: this scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires an applicant to critically evaluate the effectiveness of different impact assessment methodologies in the context of university admissions, specifically for Allegheny College. The challenge lies in discerning which approach aligns best with the stated goals of a holistic and fair evaluation process, as implied by the entrance exam context, without resorting to purely quantitative measures. Careful judgment is required to distinguish between superficial analysis and a deep understanding of how assessment tools can genuinely predict a student's potential contribution and fit within the college community. The correct approach involves recognizing that a comprehensive impact assessment for university admissions should go beyond simple data aggregation. It necessitates understanding how different assessment methods contribute to a nuanced picture of an applicant's abilities, potential, and alignment with the college's values. This approach is correct because it prioritizes a qualitative and multifaceted evaluation, which is crucial for a holistic admissions process. It acknowledges that standardized tests or single metric evaluations can overlook significant strengths and potential contributions that are vital for a diverse and thriving academic environment. This aligns with ethical considerations in admissions, aiming for fairness and equity by considering a broader range of applicant attributes. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on the predictive power of standardized test scores fails, because it neglects the qualitative aspects of an applicant's profile. This is ethically problematic as it can disadvantage students who excel in areas not captured by standardized tests, potentially leading to a less diverse and representative student body. Another incorrect approach that emphasizes the ease of data collection and comparison overlooks the potential for bias inherent in such metrics and fails to capture the unique strengths and potential of individual applicants. This approach prioritizes administrative efficiency over substantive evaluation, which is professionally unsound in an admissions context. A third incorrect approach that relies on anecdotal evidence or subjective impressions without a structured framework is also flawed. While qualitative data is important, it must be gathered and interpreted systematically to avoid personal bias and ensure fairness. Relying solely on subjective impressions lacks the rigor and objectivity required for a defensible admissions decision. Professionals in admissions should employ a decision-making framework that begins with clearly defining the objectives of the assessment in this case, identifying students who will thrive at Allegheny College and contribute positively to its community. This involves considering a range of assessment tools and methodologies, evaluating their strengths and weaknesses in relation to these objectives, and selecting those that provide a balanced and comprehensive view of each applicant. The process should prioritize fairness, equity, and the identification of diverse talents and potential, moving beyond simplistic quantitative measures to embrace a more holistic and insightful evaluation. Question 9. System analysis indicates that an applicant to Allegheny College has presented a strong overall academic record, but a single grade in a particularly demanding advanced placement science course at their high school appears significantly lower than their other grades. The admissions committee is tasked with evaluating this applicant's potential for success at Allegheny. Which of the following approaches best aligns with the principles of a fair and comprehensive university entrance exam evaluation? Option A. Make an assumption about the applicant's academic capabilities based on the general reputation of their high school for academic rigor. Option B. Focus primarily on the applicant's performance in the advanced placement science course, as this indicates their ability to handle rigorous academic challenges. Option C. Conduct a holistic review of the applicant's entire application, including all academic transcripts, essays, letters of recommendation, and extracurricular activities, to understand their overall profile and potential. Option D. Prioritize a quick decision based on the applicant's overall GPA, without delving into the specifics of individual course performances or other application components. The correct answer is B. Focus primarily on the applicant's performance in the Advanced Placement Science course, as this indicates their ability to handle rigorous academic challenges. Explanation: this scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent conflict between a student's desire for academic advancement and the college's commitment to academic integrity and fair evaluation. The admissions committee must balance the potential of a candidate with the need to uphold the rigorous standards expected of Allegheny College. Careful judgment is required to ensure that any decision made is both fair to the applicant and protective of the college's reputation and the value of its degrees. The correct approach involves a thorough, holistic review of the applicant's entire academic record, extracurricular activities, personal essays, and any supplemental materials, while also considering the specific context of their previous educational environment. This approach aligns with the principles of fair assessment and equitable opportunity, which are foundational to ethical admissions practices. It acknowledges that a single data point, such as a specific course grade, may not fully represent a student's capabilities or potential for success. Allegheny College's guidelines likely emphasize a comprehensive evaluation process that looks beyond mere numerical scores to understand the applicant as a whole person and future contributor to the college community. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on the applicant's performance in a single, potentially challenging course, without considering other factors, fails to meet the ethical standard of comprehensive evaluation. This narrow focus risks overlooking a candidate's strengths and potential, leading to an unfair rejection. It also deviates from the spirit of holistic review, which is designed to identify promising students who may not fit a purely quantitative mold. Another incorrect approach that involves making assumptions about the applicant's abilities based on the perceived rigor of their previous institution, without direct evidence, is also professionally unacceptable. This can lead to biased decision-making and perpetuate inequities. Admissions committees are ethically bound to evaluate each applicant on their individual merits and circumstances, not on generalizations about their prior schooling. Finally, an approach that prioritizes expediency over thoroughness, by making a quick decision without adequate review of all provided information, undermines the integrity of the admissions process. This can result in overlooking critical details that might otherwise support the applicant's case or, conversely, reveal genuine concerns that warrant further investigation. Professional decision-making in admissions requires a commitment to diligence and a systematic process that ensures all relevant information is considered before a final determination is made. Question 10. Regulatory review indicates that Allegheny College's admissions office is experiencing a high volume of inquiries regarding application status and potential admission outcomes. To manage this influx and provide timely feedback, the office is considering various communication strategies. Which approach best balances the need for efficient communication with the ethical imperative to protect applicant data and ensure accuracy? Option A. Post a general update on the college website stating that all decisions are still under review and will be communicated within the next 6 months. Option B. Implement a phased communication plan, first confirming and securely transmitting final admission decisions to individual applicants through the established applicant portal, followed by broader announcements of overall admission statistics. Option C. Immediately release preliminary admission decisions to all applicants via email as soon as they are flagged as potentially admissible, without a final verification step. Option D. Share aggregated, anonymized statistics on applicant performance trends with the broader college community to demonstrate the competitiveness of the applicant pool. The correct answer is C. Immediately release preliminary admission decisions to all applicants via email as soon as they are flagged as potentially admissible, without a final verification step. Explanation: scenario analysis. This scenario presents a challenge in balancing the need for timely and accurate information dissemination with the ethical obligation to protect sensitive applicant data. The pressure to provide immediate feedback to a large applicant pool, especially in a competitive admissions environment like Allegheny College, can lead to shortcuts that compromise privacy. The professional challenge lies in adhering to established data protection principles and college policies while managing stakeholder expectations. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a phased release of information, prioritizing the secure and verified delivery of essential admission decisions to applicants. This method upholds the principle of data minimization and ensures that only necessary and confirmed information is shared. It aligns with typical university data privacy policies and ethical guidelines that mandate the protection of personal information. By confirming decisions before broad communication, the college avoids disseminating potentially inaccurate or misleading information, which could have significant negative consequences for applicants. Incorrect approaches analysis. Releasing preliminary decision notifications without verification risks disseminating inaccurate information, potentially causing undue distress or false hope to applicants. This violates the ethical duty of candor and accuracy. Sharing aggregated, anonymized data about applicant performance, even if anonymized, could inadvertently reveal patterns or trends that, when combined with other publicly available information, could allow for the identification of individuals, thus breaching privacy expectations and potentially college policy. Delaying all communication until every single applicant's file has undergone a final, exhaustive review, while prioritizing accuracy, could be seen as an unreasonable delay that negatively impacts applicants' ability to plan their future, potentially violating an implicit expectation of timely communication within the admissions process. Professional reasoning. Professionals in admissions and data management should adopt a risk-based approach. This involves identifying potential harms associated with different communication strategies, evaluating the likelihood of those harms occurring, and implementing controls to mitigate them. A robust process would include clear internal protocols for data handling, verification steps before any communication, and a communication plan that balances timeliness with accuracy and privacy. When faced with pressure, professionals should refer to established policies and ethical codes, and if necessary, escalate concerns to ensure compliance. Question 11. Consider a scenario where the Allegheny College Entrance Exam Admissions Committee is reviewing an application. A committee member learns through informal channels that a current student at Allegheny College knows the applicant personally and might have insights into the applicant's character and potential contributions to the college community beyond what is evident in the application materials. The committee member is considering reaching out to the current student for their opinion. Option A. The admissions committee should proceed with a comprehensive and objective review of all submitted application materials and exam results, adhering strictly to the established evaluation criteria without seeking external, informal opinions. Option B. The admissions committee should contact the current student to gather informal insights into the applicant's character and potential fit within the college community. Option C. The admissions committee should dismiss the applicant if there are any vague concerns about their background, even if not explicitly detailed in the application. Option D. The admissions committee should prioritize the applicant's perceived fit based on potential informal information over their academic qualifications and exam performance. The correct answer is A. The admissions committee should proceed with a comprehensive and objective review of all submitted application materials and exam results, adhering strictly to the established evaluation criteria without seeking external, informal opinions. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires balancing the immediate need for information with the ethical and regulatory obligations to protect applicant privacy and ensure fairness in the admissions process. The admissions committee must avoid any actions that could be perceived as biased or that could compromise the integrity of the entrance exam. Careful judgment is required to ensure that all applicants are evaluated based on the same objective criteria, as mandated by the Allegheny College entrance exam's established guidelines. The correct approach involves a thorough, objective review of all application materials, including academic records, essays, and any supplementary information, without seeking external, potentially biased, insights into an applicant's personal circumstances. This adheres to the principle of merit-based admissions, which is fundamental to fair and equitable evaluation processes. Specifically, the Allegheny College entrance exams guidelines emphasize a holistic review that relies solely on the information provided within the application and assessed through the standardized examination. Seeking information from a current student, even with the intention of understanding an applicant's potential fit, introduces an external and subjective element that could inadvertently lead to bias, violating the exam's commitment to objective assessment and equal opportunity. An incorrect approach would be to contact the current student for informal feedback on the applicant. This fails to adhere to the Allegheny College entrance exam's regulatory framework by introducing an unverified and potentially biased source of information. It bypasses the established, objective evaluation criteria and could lead to an unfair advantage or disadvantage for the applicant, undermining the integrity of the admissions process. Furthermore, it raises ethical concerns regarding privacy and the potential for gossip or misrepresentation. Another incorrect approach would be to dismiss the applicant outright based on a vague concern about their background without a thorough review of their application. This violates the principle of due process and fair evaluation, as all applicants are entitled to a comprehensive assessment of their qualifications, as presented in their application materials and exam performance. This approach demonstrates a failure to apply the established, objective criteria consistently. A third incorrect approach would be to prioritize the applicant's perceived fit over their academic qualifications and exam performance, based on the informal information from the current student. This deviates from the core purpose of an entrance exam, which is to assess academic readiness and potential for success. The Allegheny College entrance exams guidelines clearly prioritize academic merit and standardized assessment results. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a commitment to the established regulatory framework and ethical principles of the institution. This includes 1. Strictly adhering to the defined application review process and evaluation criteria. 2. Avoiding the introduction of external, subjective, or unverified information. 3. Prioritizing fairness, objectivity, and equal opportunity for all applicants. 4. Consulting official guidelines and seeking clarification from appropriate authorities if ambiguity arises. Question 12. The monitoring system demonstrates a significant increase in the collection of student engagement data. Before fully integrating this data into student support services, what is the most appropriate next step to ensure compliance with privacy regulations and ethical considerations? Option A. Immediately begin utilizing the collected data to identify students who may require additional support, prioritizing intervention. Option B. Inform students that their engagement data is being collected and will be used for support services, without further assessment. Option C. Conduct a comprehensive data privacy and impact assessment to identify potential risks and ensure alignment with institutional policies and ethical guidelines. Option D. Archive all newly collected data to avoid any potential privacy concerns until further notice. Correct answer is C. Conduct a comprehensive data privacy and impact assessment to identify potential risks and ensure alignment with institutional policies and ethical guidelines. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires balancing the need for comprehensive data collection with the ethical and regulatory obligations to protect student privacy. The Allegheny College entrance exam, like many educational institutions, operates under specific guidelines regarding data handling and student information. A robust monitoring system, while beneficial for understanding student engagement and identifying potential support needs, must be implemented and utilized in a manner that strictly adheres to these established frameworks. Careful judgment is required to ensure that the data collected is used for its intended, beneficial purpose without infringing on individual rights or violating institutional policies. The correct approach involves a thorough impact assessment that proactively identifies potential risks to student privacy and data security before the monitoring system is fully deployed or its data is extensively utilized. This assessment should involve reviewing the types of data collected, the purposes for which it will be used, who will have access to it, and the safeguards in place to prevent unauthorized access or misuse. This aligns with the principles of data minimization and purpose limitation, which are fundamental to ethical data management and often codified in institutional policies and relevant privacy regulations. By conducting an impact assessment, the college demonstrates a commitment to responsible data stewardship and proactive risk mitigation, ensuring that the monitoring system serves its educational objectives without compromising student trust or violating privacy rights. An incorrect approach would be to proceed with the full implementation and utilization of the monitoring system without first conducting a comprehensive impact assessment. This failure to proactively evaluate potential privacy risks is a significant regulatory and ethical lapse. It suggests a disregard for the sensitive nature of student data and a potential violation of institutional policies designed to protect it. Such an oversight could lead to unintended data breaches, misuse of information, or a general erosion of trust between students and the institution. Another incorrect approach would be to conduct a superficial assessment that only considers the technical aspects of the system, neglecting the crucial ethical and privacy implications. This would fail to address the core concerns of how the data is collected, stored, and used in relation to student rights. Professionals tasked with implementing and managing such systems should adopt a decision-making framework that prioritizes a proactive, risk-based approach. This involves 1. Understanding the relevant regulatory and ethical landscape, e.g., institutional policies on data privacy, student rights. 2. Identifying all stakeholders and their concerns, particularly students. 3. Conducting a thorough impact assessment that scrutinizes data collection, usage, storage, and security. 4. Developing clear policies and procedures for data handling based on the assessment findings. 5. Implementing robust technical and organizational safeguards. 6. Establishing mechanisms for ongoing review and adaptation of the system and its policies. Question 13. The investigation demonstrates that a proctor observed a student repeatedly glancing at a small, concealed device during the Allegheny College entrance exam, and later found a crumpled piece of paper with what appeared to be formulas near the student's desk. Option A. Overlook the incident as it is not definitive proof of cheating and focus on ensuring the rest of the exam proceeds smoothly. Option B. Confront the student directly after the exam to ask them about the device and the paper, and then decide whether to report it. Option C. Report the observed behavior and the discovered paper to the exam administrator, detailing the specific observations and requesting an investigation into potential academic misconduct according to college policy. Option D. Immediately disqualify the student from the exam and inform them that they are being removed due to suspected cheating. Correct answer is C. Report the observed behavior and the discovered paper to the exam administrator, detailing the specific observations and requesting an investigation into potential academic misconduct according to college policy. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent conflict between a student's desire for academic success and the ethical imperative to uphold academic integrity. The Allegheny College entrance exam's regulatory framework, while not explicitly detailed here, implicitly governs the conduct of all participants to ensure a fair and equitable assessment process. The challenge lies in identifying and responding to potential breaches of this integrity without resorting to assumptions or overreach, while still fulfilling the duty to report significant concerns. The correct approach involves a measured and evidence-based response that prioritizes factual verification before escalating. This aligns with the principles of due process and fairness, which are foundational to any educational institution's assessment policies. Specifically, it requires gathering concrete evidence of a potential violation, such as direct observation or verifiable documentation, before initiating a formal reporting procedure. This ensures that accusations are not made lightly and that the college's established procedures for academic misconduct are followed rigorously, protecting both the integrity of the exam and the rights of the student. An incorrect approach that involves immediate accusation based on suspicion alone fails to adhere to the principle of innocent until proven guilty and can lead to unwarranted disciplinary action. This bypasses the college's established investigation protocols and can damage the student's reputation and academic standing without due cause. Another incorrect approach, which is to ignore the potential violation, represents a dereliction of professional duty. Admissions staff have a responsibility to uphold the integrity of the entrance process, and overlooking clear signs of misconduct undermines the fairness of the exam for all applicants and compromises the college's standards. A third incorrect approach, which is to confront the student directly without a formal process or evidence, can be confrontational, unproductive, and may not lead to a resolution that aligns with college policy. It also risks compromising any subsequent formal investigation by alerting the student prematurely. Professionals in this situation should employ a decision-making framework that begins with objective observation and evidence gathering. If sufficient evidence of a potential violation exists, the next step is to consult the college's official policy on academic integrity and follow the prescribed reporting procedures. This ensures that actions are consistent, fair, and legally defensible within the context of the Allegheny College entrance exams guidelines. The focus should always be on maintaining the integrity of the assessment process while respecting the rights and dignity of the individuals involved. Question 14. The analysis reveals that a proposed new interdisciplinary program in Sustainable Urban Futures at Allegheny College has generated considerable excitement due to its innovative curriculum and potential to attract a new cohort of students. However, concerns have been raised regarding its integration with existing departments and the availability of specialized faculty expertise. Which approach best assesses the overall impact of this proposed program on Allegheny College? Option A. Evaluating the program's alignment with Allegheny College's mission, assessing the adequacy of current faculty expertise and infrastructure to support its unique pedagogical approach, and considering its potential to foster interdisciplinary collaboration and enhance the college's distinctive educational offerings. Option B. Prioritizing the immediate recruitment of a large student body for the program, assuming that enrollment numbers will justify the investment and resource allocation. Option C. Examining the program's potential to attract external funding and partnerships without a thorough evaluation of its impact on existing academic departments and student learning outcomes. Option D. Focusing primarily on the program's novel subject matter and its potential to generate positive media attention and enhance the college's public image. The correct answer is A. Evaluating the program's alignment with Allegheny College's mission, assessing the adequacy of current faculty expertise and infrastructure to support its unique pedagogical approach, and considering its potential to foster interdisciplinary collaboration and enhance the college's distinctive educational offerings. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires an applicant to critically evaluate the potential consequences of a proposed academic program on the college's existing resources and reputation, without resorting to purely quantitative measures. The Allegheny College entrance exam, in its assessment of applicants, seeks to gauge their understanding of strategic planning and impact assessment in a non-mathematical context. Careful judgment is required to distinguish between superficial observations and a nuanced understanding of how academic initiatives interact with institutional capacity and external perception. The correct approach involves identifying the core elements of the proposed program and assessing their alignment with Allegheny College's mission, existing infrastructure, and community standing. This requires considering qualitative factors such as faculty expertise, student demand, potential for interdisciplinary collaboration, and the program's contribution to the college's unique educational offerings. This approach is professionally sound because it mirrors the strategic decision-making processes employed by educational institutions. It prioritizes a holistic evaluation, aligning with ethical considerations of responsible resource allocation and academic integrity. By focusing on the qualitative impact, it demonstrates an understanding of the complex interplay of factors that contribute to a successful academic program and a thriving institution, aligning with the spirit of a comprehensive entrance exam that seeks to assess broader intellectual and analytical capabilities. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on the novelty of the program without considering its integration into the college's existing framework fails to acknowledge the practical realities of academic implementation. This overlooks the regulatory and ethical imperative for institutions to operate sustainably and to ensure that new initiatives enhance, rather than detract from, their core mission and resources. Another incorrect approach that emphasizes potential for immediate enrollment increases without a corresponding assessment of faculty capacity or curriculum development demonstrates a short-sighted perspective. This neglects the ethical responsibility to provide a high-quality educational experience and the regulatory need for programs to be adequately resourced and supported. A third incorrect approach that prioritizes external recognition or prestige above all else, without a thorough impact assessment on internal operations and student learning, risks misaligning institutional goals with actual academic delivery. This can lead to reputational damage if the program cannot be sustained or if it detracts from the college's established strengths. Professionals should employ a decision-making framework that begins with clearly defining the objectives of the proposed initiative. This is followed by a comprehensive assessment of potential impacts across various dimensions: academic, financial, operational, and reputational. Crucially, This assessment should involve identifying key stakeholders and considering their perspectives. The process should then involve evaluating the feasibility of mitigating any negative impacts and maximizing positive ones, leading to a well-reasoned recommendation that balances innovation with institutional sustainability and ethical responsibility. Question 15. The evaluation methodology shows a tendency to prioritize immediate enrollment projections over a comprehensive analysis of faculty expertise, departmental resource allocation, and long-term financial sustainability when considering the introduction of a new interdisciplinary program at Allegheny College. Option A. Rely on informal discussions with a few senior faculty members who have expressed enthusiasm for the program to gauge its potential viability and impact. Option B. Focus primarily on the potential for the new program to attract a large number of students, as this is the most direct indicator of program success and institutional growth. Option C. Conduct a thorough impact assessment that includes detailed projections of student demand, faculty availability and expertise, required infrastructure and technology, and a multi-year financial forecast, comparing these against the college's strategic goals and existing resource capacity. Option D. Prioritize the program's potential to generate immediate tuition revenue to offset existing budget shortfalls, with secondary consideration given to academic fit. The correct answer is C. Conduct a thorough impact assessment that includes detailed projections of student demand, faculty availability and expertise, required infrastructure and technology, and a multi-year financial forecast, comparing these against the college's strategic goals and existing resource capacity. Explanation. The scenario presents a challenge in assessing the impact of a proposed new academic program at Allegheny College. The core difficulty lies in balancing the potential benefits of innovation with the need for rigorous, evidence-based decision-making that aligns with the college's mission and resource constraints. A superficial assessment risks misallocating resources, disappointing stakeholders, or failing to deliver on the program's promise. Therefore, a comprehensive impact assessment is crucial. The correct approach involves a multifaceted evaluation that considers academic, financial, operational, and student experience dimensions. This approach is justified by the need for responsible stewardship of college resources and a commitment to academic excellence. Specifically, it aligns with principles of sound institutional planning, which require forecasting potential outcomes and identifying necessary resources before committing to new initiatives. Ethical considerations also demand that the college act in good faith towards its students and faculty by ensuring programs are well-conceived and sustainable. This systematic approach minimizes risk and maximizes the likelihood of success, reflecting a commitment to informed decision-making. An approach that focuses solely on potential student interest without considering faculty capacity or financial viability is ethically flawed. It prioritizes a single metric over a holistic view, potentially leading to an unsustainable program that cannot be adequately staffed or funded, ultimately harming the student experience and the college's reputation. An approach that emphasizes immediate cost savings without a thorough analysis of the program's long-term academic contribution or potential for revenue generation is also problematic. This narrow focus on short-term financial gains can undermine the college's educational mission and lead to missed opportunities for growth and development. It fails to consider the broader impact on the college's academic standing and its ability to attract and retain students and faculty. An approach that relies on anecdotal evidence and informal feedback from a small group of faculty members lacks the rigor required for institutional decision-making. This method is susceptible to bias and may not represent the broader academic community's or student body's perspectives. It fails to meet the professional standard of evidence-based assessment and could lead to decisions based on incomplete or unrepresentative data, thus not serving the best interests of the college. Professionals tasked with such evaluations should employ a structured decision-making process that begins with clearly defining the assessment's objectives. This involves identifying key stakeholders and their expectations. Next, relevant data sources and methodologies should be identified and utilized to gather comprehensive information across all critical impact areas. The gathered data should then be analyzed to identify potential benefits, risks, and resource requirements. Finally, a well-reasoned recommendation should be formulated, supported by the evidence, and presented to decision makers for informed approval or rejection. Question 16. To address the challenge of selecting a diverse and academically strong incoming class at Allegheny College, which approach best aligns with the institution's commitment to holistic evaluation and community contribution. Option A. Admitting students primarily based on their demonstrated financial need, ensuring a diverse socioeconomic representation within the student body, regardless of academic qualifications. Option B. Prioritizing applicants with the highest standardized test scores and GPA, while giving minimal consideration to extracurricular activities or personal essays. Option C. Conducting a comprehensive review of each applicant's academic record, standardized test scores, extracurricular involvement, leadership experiences, and personal essays to assess their potential fit with Allegheny College's mission and values. Option D. Focusing admissions decisions solely on the applicant's intended major and their performance in related coursework to ensure specialized academic preparation. The correct answer is B. Prioritizing applicants with the highest standardized test scores and GPA, while giving minimal consideration to extracurricular activities or personal essays. Explanation. The scenario presents a common challenge in educational institutions, where admissions decisions must balance academic merit with broader institutional goals, while adhering to established policies and ethical considerations. The professional challenge lies in interpreting and applying these policies consistently and fairly, especially when faced with nuanced individual circumstances. Careful judgment is required to ensure that the admissions process is not only effective in selecting qualified students, but also upholds the integrity and values of Allegheny College. The correct approach involves a holistic review that considers the applicant's academic record alongside their demonstrated commitment to community engagement and leadership, as outlined in Allegheny College's stated admissions philosophy. This aligns with the ethical principle of fairness and equity in admissions, ensuring that all aspects of an applicant's profile are evaluated against established criteria. Furthermore, it reflects a commitment to building a diverse and well-rounded student body, which is often a stated objective of higher education institutions, and is implicitly supported by the college's emphasis on holistic development. This approach prioritizes a comprehensive understanding of the applicant's potential contribution to the college community. An incorrect approach would be to solely focus on standardized test scores, disregarding other significant aspects of the applicant's profile. This fails to acknowledge the multifaceted nature of student success and can lead to the exclusion of highly capable individuals who may excel in areas not captured by standardized metrics. Ethically, this approach can be seen as overly rigid and potentially discriminatory if it disproportionately disadvantages certain groups of applicants. Another incorrect approach would be to deviate from established admissions criteria based on personal biases or external pressures, such as a desire to meet specific enrollment targets without regard for the applicant's qualifications. This undermines the principle of meritocracy and can lead to perceptions of unfairness and a compromised admissions process. Such deviations would violate the trust placed in the admissions committee to act impartially and in the best interest of the college. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a thorough understanding of Allegheny College's admissions policies and its mission statement. Admissions officers should be trained to apply these criteria consistently and to recognize the value of diverse experiences and talents. When faced with difficult decisions, a collaborative approach involving multiple reviewers and adherence to established protocols for appeals or exceptions can help ensure fairness and mitigate the impact of individual biases. The focus should always be on selecting students who are most likely to succeed academically and contribute positively to the college community, in accordance with the institution's defined values. Question 17. The review process indicates that a proposal for a new interdisciplinary master's program in sustainable urban futures has been submitted. To ensure responsible academic planning and resource allocation, what is the most appropriate next step for Allegheny College? Option A. Prioritize the development of the program based on the strong advocacy of a few key faculty members in related departments, without extensive external validation. Option B. Conduct a comprehensive feasibility study that assesses potential student demand, faculty expertise and availability, required infrastructure and technology, and the program's alignment with the college's strategic mission and financial sustainability. Option C. Immediately approve the program based on the perceived innovative nature of the subject matter and the potential for attracting research grants. Option D. Allocate significant marketing resources to promote the program to prospective students, assuming enrollment will naturally follow from the novelty of the topic. The correct answer is B. Conduct a comprehensive feasibility study that assesses potential student demand, faculty expertise and availability, required infrastructure and technology, and the program's alignment with the college's strategic mission and financial sustainability. Explanation. The review process indicates a need to assess the impact of a proposed new academic program on existing resources and student demand. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires a forward-looking evaluation that balances institutional growth with sustainability and student well-being. A failure to conduct a thorough impact assessment can lead to resource strain, program redundancy, or unmet student needs, all of which can negatively affect Allegheny College's reputation and operational efficiency. Careful judgment is required to anticipate potential consequences and develop proactive strategies. The correct approach involves a comprehensive analysis of how the new program aligns with the college's strategic goals, its potential demand from prospective and current students, the availability of qualified faculty and necessary facilities, and its financial viability. This approach is right because it adheres to principles of responsible academic planning and resource management, which are implicitly expected of institutions like Allegheny College. While specific regulations for university entrance exams are not typically detailed in the same way as financial regulations, the underlying ethical and professional standards for academic institutions demand due diligence in program development. This includes ensuring that new initiatives are well supported, will attract sufficient enrollment to be sustainable, and will not detract from the quality of existing programs. An approach that focuses solely on the potential prestige of a new program without considering resource allocation or student demand is professionally unacceptable. This failure neglects the practical realities of academic administration and can lead to a program that is understaffed, underfunded, or poorly attended, thus wasting institutional resources and potentially disappointing students. Another incorrect approach is to prioritize the interests of a small group of faculty advocating for the program over a broader assessment of institutional capacity and student interest. This can lead to a skewed decision-making process that does not serve the best interests of the college as a whole or its student body. It violates the principle of equitable resource distribution and strategic alignment. A third incorrect approach is to assume that any new program will automatically attract sufficient enrollment due to the college's general reputation. This overlooks the competitive landscape of higher education and the specific market demand for particular fields of study. It represents a lack of proactive market analysis and can result in a program that fails to meet enrollment targets, impacting its long-term viability and the college's financial health. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a multifaceted assessment that includes market research, financial projections, faculty capacity evaluation, and student interest surveys. This process should be guided by the college's strategic plan and a commitment to academic excellence and fiscal responsibility. It requires collaboration among academic departments, admissions, finance, and institutional research to gather comprehensive data and present a well-reasoned proposal. Question 18. What factors determine the comprehensive impact assessment of an applicant's potential contribution to Allegheny College beyond purely academic metrics? Option A. The applicant's ability to secure letters of recommendation from individuals with significant public profiles, regardless of their knowledge of the applicant's character. Option B. The applicant's stated preference for specific academic departments and their familiarity with the college's historical athletic achievements. Option C. The applicant's demonstrated leadership and initiative in extracurricular activities, the depth and thoughtfulness of their personal essay, and any unique life experiences or perspectives they bring. Option D. The applicant's raw score on standardized entrance examinations and their grade point average, GPA, from their previous academic institution. The correct answer is C. The applicant's demonstrated leadership and initiative in extracurricular activities, the depth and thoughtfulness of their personal essay, and any unique life experiences or perspectives they bring. Explanation. This scenario presents a challenge for prospective Allegheny College students as they navigate the admissions process, which is governed by the college's internal policies and general principles of fair evaluation, rather than specific external regulations like those found in financial services. The difficulty lies in understanding how subjective elements, such as personal essays and extracurricular activities, are weighed against more objective measures like academic transcripts. Admissions committees must balance the desire to identify academically capable students with the need to build a diverse and well-rounded student body. This requires a nuanced approach to impact assessment, considering how different aspects of an applicant's profile contribute to the overall strength of the incoming class. The correct approach involves a holistic review that considers the interconnectedness of various applicant attributes. This means evaluating academic performance not in isolation, but in the context of the applicant's high school, course rigor, and any extenuating circumstances. Similarly, extracurricular involvement and personal essays are assessed for the depth of commitment, leadership demonstrated, and the applicant's ability to articulate their experiences and aspirations. This comprehensive evaluation aims to predict not only academic success at Allegheny, but also the applicant's potential to contribute positively to the college community. This aligns with the ethical principle of fair and equitable assessment, ensuring that all applicants are given a thorough and individualized review. An incorrect approach would be to solely prioritize standardized test scores, or GPA, disregarding other crucial indicators of potential. This fails to acknowledge the multifaceted nature of student success and can lead to the exclusion of highly promising candidates who may excel in areas not captured by numerical data. Another flawed approach would be to apply a rigid, formulaic weighting to each component of the application, treating them as independent variables rather than parts of a cohesive whole. This can lead to an artificial and potentially unfair assessment, as the qualitative impact of an essay or a unique extracurricular achievement might be undervalued. Furthermore, an approach that relies heavily on anecdotal evidence or personal biases, rather than established evaluation criteria, would be ethically unsound and undermine the integrity of the admissions process. Professionals in admissions should employ a decision-making framework that begins with clearly defined institutional goals for the incoming class. This framework should then outline specific criteria for evaluating each application component, emphasizing both quantitative and qualitative aspects. Regular calibration and training for admissions officers are essential to ensure consistent application of these criteria and to mitigate unconscious bias. The process should also include mechanisms for review and appeal, reinforcing fairness and transparency. Question 19. Cost-benefit analysis shows that implementing a new, revenue-generating student service could significantly increase the college's operating budget, but it may also divert faculty attention from core academic research and reduce the availability of certain student support resources. Which approach best aligns with the principles of responsible institutional management and educational mission? Option A. Conduct a comprehensive impact assessment evaluating the program's effects on student learning, faculty engagement, campus community, and the college's mission, alongside financial projections, to inform a balanced decision. Option B. Reject the program outright due to the potential for negative impacts, even though it offers significant financial benefits. Option C. Proceed with the program, prioritizing its revenue-generating potential and addressing any negative consequences only if they become severe. Option D. Immediately approve the program to capitalize on the projected revenue increase, assuming that any negative impacts on faculty or student services will be manageable. The correct answer is A. Conduct a comprehensive impact assessment evaluating the program's effects on student learning, faculty engagement, campus community, and the college's mission, alongside financial projections, to inform a balanced decision. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in educational institutions where resource allocation decisions must balance potential benefits against costs, while adhering to ethical considerations and institutional mission. The professional challenge lies in evaluating the impact of a proposed program not just on financial metrics, but also on student experience, academic integrity, and long-term institutional reputation, all within the context of the Allegheny College entrance exam's specific regulatory framework. Careful judgment is required to ensure that decisions are not solely driven by immediate financial gains, but also by the core values and educational objectives of the college. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a comprehensive impact assessment that extends beyond immediate financial returns. This approach prioritizes understanding the qualitative and quantitative effects on student learning outcomes, faculty engagement, campus community, and the college's overall mission. It aligns with the implicit ethical obligations of an educational institution to provide a high-quality learning environment and to make decisions that serve the best interests of its students and academic community. Regulatory frameworks for educational institutions, while not explicitly detailed here, generally emphasize responsible stewardship of resources and a commitment to educational excellence, which this approach upholds. Incorrect approach is analysis, focusing solely on immediate cost savings without considering the potential negative impacts on student services or academic quality, represents a failure to uphold the institution's primary educational mission. This approach risks short-term financial gains at the expense of long-term student satisfaction and academic reputation, which could have significant detrimental effects. Prioritizing a program that generates revenue but detracts from core academic offerings or student well-being demonstrates a misaligned institutional focus. Such a decision could violate ethical principles of prioritizing education and student development over purely commercial interests. It may also contravene unstated but understood guidelines regarding the purpose and function of an educational institution. Implementing a program based on anecdotal evidence or popular opinion without rigorous assessment of its actual impact, both positive and negative, is professionally unsound. This approach lacks the systematic evaluation necessary to ensure responsible decision-making and could lead to wasted resources or unintended negative consequences, failing to meet the standards of due diligence expected in institutional management. Professional reasoning. Professionals in educational settings should employ a structured decision-making process that begins with clearly defining the objectives of any proposed initiative. This is followed by identifying all potential stakeholders and assessing the impact on each. A thorough impact assessment, encompassing financial, academic, ethical, and reputational dimensions, is crucial. This assessment should inform a cost-benefit analysis that is holistic and forward-looking, rather than narrowly focused on immediate financial metrics. Finally, decisions should be transparent and justifiable based on the comprehensive assessment and alignment with the institution's mission and values. Question 20. Market research demonstrates that a new recruitment initiative focusing on high-achieving students from affluent suburban high schools could significantly boost Allegheny College's average test scores and perceived academic prestige. However, this initiative might inadvertently reduce the proportion of students from lower socioeconomic backgrounds and underrepresented minority groups. Which approach best addresses the potential impact of this initiative? Option A. Prioritize the recruitment initiative as proposed, as increasing average test scores and perceived prestige will ultimately benefit all students by enhancing the college's reputation and future opportunities. Option B. Conduct a thorough impact assessment to evaluate the potential effects of the recruitment initiative on student diversity across socioeconomic, racial, and ethnic lines, and develop mitigation strategies to ensure equitable access. Option C. Rely on anecdotal feedback from current students and faculty regarding the college's existing diversity to gauge the potential impact, and adjust recruitment tactics only if significant concerns are raised. Option D. Focus the recruitment efforts on cost-effective channels that have historically yielded high-achieving students, assuming that diversity will naturally follow if the college's overall academic standing improves. The correct answer is B. Conduct a thorough impact assessment to evaluate the potential effects of the recruitment initiative on student diversity across socioeconomic, racial, and ethnic lines, and develop mitigation strategies to ensure equitable access. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent conflict between a college's desire to attract a diverse student body and the need to adhere to fair and equitable admissions practices. The pressure to meet enrollment targets can inadvertently lead to decisions that compromise these principles. Careful judgment is required to balance institutional goals with ethical and regulatory obligations. The correct approach involves a comprehensive impact assessment that considers the potential effects of the proposed recruitment strategy on various student demographics, ensuring that no group is unfairly disadvantaged or excluded. This aligns with the ethical imperative of fairness and equity in educational access, and implicitly with any regulatory frameworks that govern non-discriminatory practices in admissions, even if not explicitly detailed for this specific exam. The focus is on understanding the broader consequences of actions before implementation, an approach that prioritizes immediate enrollment numbers without considering the downstream effects on diversity risks, violating principles of equal opportunity. This could lead to accusations of bias or discriminatory practices, even if unintentional. Focusing solely on cost-effectiveness without evaluating the impact on accessibility for different socioeconomic groups would be an ethical failure, potentially creating barriers for deserving students. Similarly, an approach that relies on anecdotal evidence rather than systematic analysis lacks the rigor necessary for responsible decision-making and could perpetuate existing inequalities. Professionals should employ a decision-making framework that begins with identifying the core objective, then systematically evaluates potential strategies against ethical principles and any applicable guidelines. This involves anticipating potential negative consequences, seeking diverse perspectives, and prioritizing approaches that promote fairness and inclusivity. A thorough impact assessment is a critical step in this process, allowing for informed choices that uphold professional integrity.